Hey guys, welcome everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
We'll get started in just a minute.
Greetings.
Hello, Debbie. Debbie, how did your daughter's first semester go?
It was good. But she's been home since March, so she can't wait to get back to Tucson.
All right, I'm glad to hear it. I remember talking to you before she went, and so.
Yeah, she loves it. I want to keep her as long as I can, but she's like, I got to get back to Tucson. Hey, Eric.
Hi. How are you doing, Debbie?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
School starting soon?
Yeah, I report to work next Wednesday, and then the students return 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Wow. We started today. My youngest daughter, her first day was today.
What grade is she in now?
8th grade.
Okay.
Yeah. Welcome everyone. I'm going to share my screen so you can get connected to the slides. These slides are going to be interactive. So if you have a mobile device like a tablet or a phone, you could also use another window on your computer and just go to joinpd.com and enter that code.
Are you in Arizona, Miss Henney?
I am, yeah, I'm in Arizona. It's hot.
So I'm assuming your 8th grader is just virtual right now, hopefully, right?
She is, yep, they're all online. And she was pretty self-sufficient this morning, except for a little minor tech hiccup. Schools never anticipate, the traffic they're gonna have on the first day, so everything was a little slow. Worked out. Where are you, Craig?
I'm in Fort Bend County, Texas, right outside Houston. So we're virtual the first 4, maybe the first 8 weeks. First day of classes, a little less than 2 weeks now.
Well, that's why we rushed these workshops. We know you guys had very little warning, but we were glad that we got so many people willing to join so quick. All right, so I'll leave this code up while we do some introductions, but if you have a mobile device or a phone, you could also do it on another window on your computer. Just go to joinpd.com and enter that code. And I will also put that in the chat right now for everyone. IHZJB. Okay, Join PD, that stands for joinpeardeck.com. All right, well, we have a lot planned, so we want to get started right away. It's already great to see some familiar faces and some new faces. I have missed seeing people. So, hey, Marv.
Hey, Debbie, how you doing?
Marv's in way southern Arizona.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
okay?
good to see you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great.
So my name is Debbie Henney. I am in Arizona. I'm in my makeshift bedroom home office. And I teach economics at Mesa Community College. That's my full-time job. But I also am the curriculum director for the Foundation for Teaching Economics. And in the summers, I teach Economics for Leaders programs with them. And this summer, we had to take all of those programs. Usually they're held on college and university campuses all over the country. And it's like econ camp for high school students where they stay in dorms and they learn about economics and leadership. And we also do run that program for teachers where they get the same economics instruction, but also then the pedagogy instruction, how to teach economics. And so we had to quickly pivot and move those to virtual. And then we ran programs all summer long. We thought most of the students would just cancel and say, I'm not doing econ summer camp on, what's worse than econ camp online. So we thought maybe we'd get 20 students that would show up. We had over 600 students participate in the virtual programs, and they were in sections of 30. So most of the weeks every week we had at least 2 programs, sometimes 3. One week we had 4 programs running simultaneously to accommodate all those students throughout the summer. And most of them stuck with it and gave it a try. And the first week, we didn't know what we were worried. We thought, are they going to show up on the second day? Are they going to show up in the first place? Are they going to hate it? And I don't think any of us slept that entire week. But by the end of the week, the students were, the feedback we were getting is, I don't want it to be over. This was so fun. I wish my class was like this. I'm going to tell my principal about, Pear Deck. I'm going to do. The feedback was amazing, and we just kept getting reaffirmed each week that we did it, and we got better. And so what we found out was that it was possible to take the active learning games and simulations and teaching style that FTE is known for and that we do in those summer programs, and to still do it in a virtual environment. And so we thought, let's teach our teachers what we learned, and maybe some of these things will come in helpful and handy for you. And if nothing else, it will at least give you the tools so that you can teach your favorite FTE lessons that you like to do virtually, whatever your virtual classroom is going to look like. So I'd also like to take a minute and introduce Haley, my co-pilot for today. So everybody say hi to Haley. She's like our Janice, if you've watched The Good Place. She's like ever present, knows all the answers, but she has quickly become an expert in all things, Zoom and virtual teaching, because our amazing staff at FTE, they were in every one of the programs helping and assisting and working with students, helping us. And so Haley will be here probably answering a lot of your questions in the chat. And let me know, Haley, if anybody, if there's questions that come up that I missed, just stop me. And do you have anything you want to say, Haley?
Good to see you all. Thanks so much for being here.
She likes to put faces with your names because she sees you on the registration all the time. So, okay, so let me give you a little, so that's our purpose here. And the reason we rolled them out so quick is because when we said, let's do this, we started looking at the calendar and thought teachers are going to be back in the classroom so quick, and we'll see if anybody's interested. So, all right, if you're not connected, it's not really your last chance, but I really want you to get connected on a mobile device. Just go to joinpd.com. Did it ask you to connect? I forgot to turn it off, so it probably made you connect with a Google account or a Microsoft account. Is there anybody that is hung up because of that, if you weren't able to connect? It is possible, if that's something you're interested in using in the future, you can turn it off so students don't have to connect it with a Google account. It just means that their submissions are anonymous. This way I'll actually see who you are when you're submitting things. So this program, there so many people said they wanted in, and some of you are asking, why are you capping it? It's virtual. Because just like we do in our regular programs, we want this to be interactive and hands-on, and we want you, and that's really hard to do when you have 200 people in a webinar. So we moved a bunch of people a day early, and we did a practice run yesterday, so hopefully you'll benefit from that today. And today we're running 2 simultaneous sessions so that we could accommodate all of you. So that's why John Kessler's name is on here. He's next door in the Zoom meeting next door. All right, so somebody that just joined that's asking for the code, I'll have Haley just copy and paste that again in there. And the code will stay in the top of the slides up here. So joinpd.com, and the code will always be up there in the top right. All right, so here's where we're gonna go, kind of our roadmap. We're gonna talk about kind of active learning in the virtual classroom, and then we're gonna talk about what today's focus is just gonna be on using the web conference tools and I know not all of you are gonna be using Zoom, but they all have these similar tools that we're gonna practice with, and so that you can see how those tools can be used to help you teach. And then the breakout rooms, we'll practice with those as well, so that everybody gets hands-on practice and specifically how breakout rooms could be used for teaching the activities. And then we'll give you some tips that we have learned from our kind of crash course in virtual teaching this summer. But let's go ahead and start with this. If you look on your mobile device, you'll see my slides, but this one is an interactive slide, and I want you to just fill in that circle. Make it a pie chart. I give you a little key on the right to show me how you expect to be teaching this fall. How do you expect to spend your time? Will some of it be face-to-face? Do you think will it be, and I divided online into synchronous and asynchronous. So synchronous meaning asynchronous, they're doing it on their own time. You're the person putting the information up and the assignments and your tech support and you're answering emails and you're grading. They're all working on their own time. Synchronous would be you're doing this. You're live online with your students doing synchronous teaching. All right, so you guys fill those in. I want to show you your responses, some of them. All right, looks like, wow, somebody's going to be all face-to-face. That's Aaron. Where's Aaron? Oh, there's Aaron. I see Aaron. It looks like Travis expects to be halftime blue. What did I say blue was? I can't read my code anymore. Blue was asynchronous. And who else is working up here? A lot of people looks like they're half asynchronous, half synchronous, but expecting to be online. How about Wendy? Wendy, tell us what you're going to be doing. Wendy's this yellow right here.
We had a board's meeting tomorrow to make a decision.
Okay, so you will find out.
And I was making phone calls to families to see if they wanted to do something hybrid, in person or distance, but I have no idea.
Wow, and then here's a question mark. Oh, that's Wendy too.
Yes, yeah, Boston has, I'm in Boston, they haven't decided what we're doing yet.
Okay.
As usual.
Oh, my heart goes out to you guys. Well, all right, so maybe you see yours up here, your graph. Some of you definitely have more artistic skills than others. All right, we'll go ahead and move past this. So I saw this comic and I thought it was funny because I actually have experienced, I have to see, do we have any professors here, Haley? We have some old dogs at FT, some old professors, and believe it or not, they can learn new tricks. And maybe you feel like this. I feel like this. When I'm using technology around my kids, I feel like I'm incompetent. They look at me like, just do swipe, push. And it is a foreign language. But if I can do it, you can do it. If 70 plus, I don't know how old these professors are. I do know some are over 70. We taught professors this summer that have been retired for a while and how to teach in Zoom, how to make their slides interactive, and they were amazing. They knocked it out of the park. Some took lots of practice, but I'll give you some tips. But if they can do it, you can too. So the first thing we had to do is I had to sell it to those professors that were going to be teaching, and even just trying to describe to them what a virtual classroom was, what teaching online was. There's so many acronyms and pieces and components. I'm still trying to learn the language of my kids' school. They're like, we're doing it in Buzz. We're using Buzz. I guess they bought like some thing from Florida Virtual School or something. But then we're using WebEx. But then we have our Google Classrooms. I'm like, what's what? So you have a learning management system that's picked by your school. That might be like Google Classroom or Blackboard or Canvas or some place where the courses are organized, the student rosters are populated in there, and you put your grades in, and you don't have no control over that. It's just picked for you, and you may love it or hate it. And then you have the technology that is also out of your control. You've got your own Wi-Fi and network and bandwidth, and your devices, and then students, which maybe it's given to them by the school, but still, what's their Wi-Fi like at home? And so again, most of these things are out of your control. And then there's lots of great apps and tools, and some of these you were already using back when we were teaching face-to-face, like Flipgrid or Padlet, Kahoot. Those might be apps that you had been using to enhance your teaching in the classroom. And now to make this virtual classroom work, there has to be some sort of web conferencing platform, like Zoom, like we're using today, or WebEx or Cranium Cafe or Microsoft Teams, and so there's going to be some platform like that you have to use. And it's a lot. You have to learn how to use all of those, and then how to try to not feel clunky and awkward when you're trying to navigate all that when you're working with the students. So we already know that active learning is important in a face-to-face classroom. That there's a different kind of learning that happens. It's different than students just listening to you and memorizing things. They actually get to do things and discover things and process and come to their own understanding. And those are the things that they retain. That's how they discover and learn and internalize economic principles. You want them, you know, we give them these market activities and trade games and tragedy of the commons experiments so that they can internalize, you know, we can reflect on those activities later and connect to them when we're teaching. And so if it's important in a face-to-face classroom, now that they're in their bedroom and you're in your office, you know, we've got this screen barrier in between us, it's more important than ever, right? We had competition before, but now trying to keep their attention and keep them engaged and getting them to internalize and learn it, why would we ditch that, you know, that active learning component that we already know is so important? So how do we do that in this virtual environment? We have to compel, and I would even use the word require, their engagement. And there's fun, you know, tools that we can use to do that. Like my new favorite is Pear Deck, because it keeps them connected to your presentation, and throughout they can be, and maybe it's have to be, you know, contributing and participating in that lesson. And so you can make your slides and presentations interactive. You can keep them on their toes. I'll give you some examples of this in a minute, just through your web conferencing tools that will keep them there and engaged. And that's the last one. How can we use these tools to recreate these activities that you've come to love in the classroom in a virtual, now use them in a virtual environment? So before we go any farther, share with me, if you know, what will be the web conferencing platform that you expect to be using this fall. And there's an other option if you don't know. And this will be helpful for some of the examples and stuff that we talk about in a little bit. Looks like I have 25 of you connected. Does anybody still need help connecting to the Pear Deck slides? You can just speak up if you do, and I will help you. Just go to joinpd.com and enter the code IHJZB. It's in the top right of the slides. All right, so I'm going to show you your results. It looks like most of you actually will be using Zoom, so this will be particularly helpful for you. But for those of you that are going to be using Google Meet or Microsoft Teams or WebEx, we will also talk about what the related tools are in those platforms as well. So let me see who these other people are. How about Dawn? Do you know what you're going to be using in the fall?
We have not been told yet. We will be told on Monday.
My goodness. You guys, I just feel for teachers, because you've had all summer and you probably would have loved to be preparing and training, and
Amen.
you get to find out right before the students do.
Exactly.
So for those of you, okay, so here's just a quick overview of the different tools that we're going to use for activities today. And some of them you might not have thought of as teaching tools, like the camera, for example. So let's use the webcam. So everybody, if you didn't have your camera on before, we're going to get you involved and engaged now. So right now I want to find out where you guys are from. So everybody that is in the Eastern time zone, keep your camera on, and everybody else turn your camera off. All right. And for those of you, if you're viewing, when you're viewing Zoom and all the participants, if you click in somebody's picture, where their camera is muted now, the little 3 dots by their name, you can actually click to hide the non-video participants, and you can do this as a teacher too, and it moves all of them to the bottom. You can still click on anybody's picture, those 3 dots again, and you could say show them, but it still keeps them at the bottom. So now I can very quickly see that up at the top, if I take away myself, I've got 10, 11, 12, 13, so I got 12 people that are on East Coast. All right, now turn off your camera, East Coast people, and let's see how many people are Central time zone. Central time zone. Turn your cameras on, all right. Anybody need help turning their camera off?
Yeah.
Amy needs help. Okay, so at the bottom, when you're viewing my screen, if you hover your mouse towards the bottom of the Zoom platform, you should see a little picture of a video camera, and if you just click it, it turns your video camera off. There we go. Anybody else need help finding that? And when you click it again, it turns it back on. Okay, so there's our.
Are we supposed to be able to see all of those pictures too? Because I only see your screen and you.
So great question. So there are different view options. So where you're seeing me in the screen, usually it's at the top right, and Haley, jump in if I'm in presenter view, so it looks a little bit different. I think it's in the top right, you'll see like a little grid box, different views that you can change it to.
Device.
Yeah.
Half of these things don't work on devices, just.
Oh, you're on a mobile device.
Yeah.
Is that what
so
you said? Okay.
Do a lot of these things on a mobile device. Okay.
You're right. That is true. If you're on connected to the meeting through an app, that is going to affect the things you're going to be able to do. And so if you have a computer, go grab it, connect twice, and then we can get you situated. Otherwise, you'll just pay attention. All right, let's see. So there's our central. Let's turn your cameras off and let me see anybody in the Mountain Time Zone. Mountain Time Zone? Anyone? Let's see. Marv? No, Marv, we're Pacific kind of right now, right? Because we don't do daylight savings. So you got to close yours now, Marv. How about Richard? Where are you from?
California.
California. And Penny, how about you?
Houston, Texas.
Texas. Okay. Richard, you're in California. That's next. Do you see how to turn your camera off?
Yeah.
Okay. Turn it off and then you're turned back on. Okay, I like Richard's picture. All right, so it's just you, Penny. All right, now Penny's gonna turn her camera off, and everybody Pacific time zone, which includes Arizona right now because we don't do daylight savings. All right, turn it on. And Jacob, I have to ask, where are you?
I'm in the mountains right now. I live in Sacramento though, but we're up in over by Tahoe right now. Wow. I had to stop my vacation, my last little hoorah for the week, to do this PD.
That's a high opportunity cost, Jacob. We will make it worth your time, but we're all jealous. Good. I thought it looks like a virtual background.
Well, Eric coerced me into being here, so you know how Eric is.
Good job, Eric. All right, so go ahead and everybody turn your cameras back on now. And now we have 2 Wendy's here. So, and that's same for anybody else. If you join by phone, take a minute to go find, even a tablet would be better, but a computer to join, like the device you would be using to teach with, so that you can have full access. I will say there's a couple things we're going to do with Chromebooks that you won't, really just one thing that you can't do with a Chromebook. So if you do have another option other than a Chromebook, just because we're in Zoom, you might want to grab that, but that's not a big deal. All right, here's another example. If you're close to your kitchen, so Jacob gets a pass on this one. I want you to run and grab your 3 choices that you had for breakfast this morning, okay? I'm gonna give you like 60 seconds. On your mark, get set, go. Anybody who's not close to the kitchen, I know most of you are, and you probably didn't get a lot of steps in today, so you better go. But for those of you that aren't, you get a pass and you can actually type it into the slide on the Pear Deck, okay? You can type your 3 choices in there. Okay, Jeff's are all gonna be cereal choices. What's that third one, Jeff?
Cherries.
Cherries. So type your answers in the Pear Deck or run and get your pictures. Okay, Richard's got, is that peanut butter, Cheerios, okay? What Eric has milk. What else? What is that, Eric? Oh, a Starbucks like treat. Okay, we got some Cheerios. Cheerios are popular. Banana, okay? Wendy has a canister of some cereal, oatmeal. Okay, eggs and bananas. All right, so now put your choice. What did you choose in front of the camera? Put what you chose in front of the camera or type it in. You can either edit your Pear Deck answer or you can just submit a new answer. So put your choice in there. I'll show some of these responses. So I don't want to see all 3 anymore. I want to see your choice. You better eat those bananas quick, Travis. All right, looks like Cheerios, English muffin, oatmeal, or some of those. Okay, I'm in City Hall. We should see what's in the kitchen across the hall. All right, now what would be your opportunity cost? So type it in the answers or hold it up. Opportunity cost for Jeff was cherries. I noticed Jeff didn't hold up. Jeff, what was your first choice? If you wouldn't mind unmuting your microphone.
Frosted Mini Wheats.
Frosted Mini Wheats is what you chose. I noticed
Yes.
that you didn't hold up the cherries and the Cheerios as your opportunity cost. Why not?
Oh, I forgot. I just wasn't thinking. No, you're right. Because the opportunity cost is the next best option. It's the opportunity lost. Yes. It's only the next one.
So I knew you guys were pros and nobody messed it up, but and opportunity cost isn't both everything else we could have had. It's the next best alternative. And so Jeff showed us his next best alternative. All right. So you can turn your camera. If your cameras aren't on, turn them on. You can put your food items. If it needs milk, go put your milk back in the fridge, Eric. But I just wanted you to see a very simple way of how you could use the webcam is an important tool, and you're using the environment around them. You're letting them move around. You're, they're going to be engaged in an activity like that. They're going to be paying attention. They're going to be looking at other people's, breakfast choices. And where I would have done this in the classroom with snacks that I brought in and brought volunteers up and have them make choices and talk about what their choice is, I can still do an activity like that because I still have them and their faces, and we have props and things around us. So, and to give you an example of an activity that the professors do in the summer, in one of the lectures, they're teaching about incentives, and they ask a student if they can do push-ups. Would anybody like to do push-ups? And some, show off always raises their hand, and we say, how many push-ups can you do? And they'll say like 30 push-ups. And so, well, show us. So we have them move the webcam, they're doing push-ups, everybody's counting and watching them do their push-ups. And then when they finish and they can't do any more, the professor will say, could you do some more? What if I paid you 50 cents a push-up, and inevitably they can do more push-ups, right? So incentives matter. But that's an activity that's just as fun. It was just as fun this summer, like when we were in person, watching a kid do push-ups and counting and everybody kind of having fun at their with them. We won't say laughing at them. So that was question. Did I miss a question? No? Okay. So that's the camera. Don't, you can use that. The on and off is a way.
I actually have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm confused about is you are sharing your screen right now. And so I'm not getting a grid of all the participants. So this idea that they'd all be able to see each other's stuff, I don't get that.
So good point, Wendy. So you have options of how you want to view in Zoom, and different web conference platforms have different options. So like I was learning about a new one yesterday called Cranium Cafe, and no matter what, me, a student, I couldn't see all the students like this. So hopefully nobody's using Cranium Cafe. But in Zoom, you actually do have an option if all you're seeing right now is my screen and maybe a little speaker of me, shrink it down so it's not full screen anymore. And then you can change it from grid view or a list view. It's usually at the top right. There's different little, like the Brady Bunch boxes, or help me, Haley, what it looks like if you're in participant view.
In participant view, you should have grids all the way across the top with Debbie's screen being shared in a large format below.
People all across the top?
People all the way across the top. But you can change your view at any time in Zoom in the upper left. Now that Debbie has stopped sharing her screen, you guys should have an option for a gallery view.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
We always recommend when you're teaching, if you can, 2 monitors. It's much, much easier. And I know Debbie will touch on that in a minute.
Yeah. So right now, because I am not screen sharing, it brought it down. But do you see how you can exit full screen or you can make it full screen?
Well, what I was seeing was I couldn't see this grid of everybody. I could see a little strip line where I had to click on person after person if you were in the shared screen. And what I was wondering is that the limit with Zoom?
It's the limit when if that's the view that you're in and you only have one monitor. There are a couple ways around that. You could shrink down the window so that you have like one window where the grid is, and then so you could kind of treat your screen like 2 monitors and have 2 screens happening kind of at the same time. And I'll give you some ideas for monitors or things coming up. So, but for students, that will be a common view for them. Your screen might be big, and then they'll see whoever's speaking, or they'll see a row of kids, and they just might have to click a couple times to see other students.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, great question. Thank you for asking. So I'll pop this up here again, because another common tool that all web conferencing platforms have, all of them have cameras. Some of them, does anybody have one that is an odd one that wasn't in that list? I know I asked one person, but I think there were 3 people who said other or they don't know. Does anybody have another one that they know the name of? It wasn't on the list? Okay, then I'm not gonna waste any time talking about that one I was thinking of. All right, so they also all have a chat feature. And so if you don't have the chat open yet, if you, when you are, I'm gonna stop viewing so I can, stop sharing, so I can see it where you guys see it. So on the bottom middle of your Zoom, when you're watching the Zoom presentation, you'll see chat is an option. And if you open it up, it pops up a little chat window. And you actually have the ability to move these things around to different places. And so this became, you know, I got into a routine where I always knew like I wanted the chat to be right here and I wanted to be able to see the participants list here. If you click on participants, you can see the list of everybody here. But I wanted the chat to be closest to my, you know, view next to the students so I could kind of monitor it if there were questions or something. Oh, did I unspotlight? We'll talk about spotlighting later. All right, so those are 2 views that you have. So everybody has chat, and then there's usually some sort of raise your hand feature. And so in Zoom, I will share my screen again so I can show you what it looks like. If you, in the participant, if you open up the participant window, at the very bottom of the participant window, you'll see these options right here along the bottom where you can raise your hand. So go ahead and try raising your hand. And it shows up, you'll notice like Jeff already raised his hand and Melissa, you see them on their faces, but also in the participant list, you can see people's hands are raised. And so that's a signal, a blue signal that pops up that's easy and visual to see that you might want students. If you're in WebEx, if you're using WebEx, I know some of you are, same thing next to the participants, they have the option to click on or off their hand, like do they want to raise their hand or not, and it works very much the same way. And in Google, it sounds like a lot of you are also using Google Meet. There isn't a raise your hand feature, but they actually do have a free Chrome extension that you can add called, let me make sure I get the name of it. I think it's just called Nod. See if I made any notes about that. I think you just add, I think it's a Chrome extension. So if you just look for Google Meet, it's called the Nod extension for Google Meet. And it lets you add reactions to your Google Meet meetings. And then students can do the same thing. There's no cost to do that. And then students actually have a bunch of little different reactions and emojis, kind of like you see right here in Zoom. Also, you'll notice there's there's green and red, you know, yes and no buttons. So why don't you guys try using those? So lower your hand if you have your hand raised. And now try using the answer yes or no if you if you push the snooze button this morning. Show me yes or no with these different reactions. Okay, right, it's kind of similar to turn on or off your camera, but I didn't have to have anybody turn the camera off. I can see you all right there. Most of you got up right away. Okay, and let's see, in Adobe Connect, is anybody using Adobe Connect? How about say, give me a thumbs up. Do you see the thumbs up reaction if you're using Adobe Connect? And if you're not, give me a thumbs down. So there's blue thumbs up and blue thumbs down. So everybody all knows. Anybody else? All right. Okay, nobody's using Adobe. Oh, nobody, yes, no, nobody. Yes, one person, Jennifer is. Okay, so in Adobe Connect, there's this very, user-friendly, easy to find. It's just a little person raising their hand button, that drop-down list, and they have all their different reactions right there. I appreciate the speak louder, speak more quiet, because in-class students will do that to me. Like somebody will be sitting in the front row and they'll kind of go, you know, like, can you talk a little quieter? And I speed it up, slow it down is another one. If you're covering, especially like supply and demand or something, and they're just like, whoa, can you go back over that? There's signals to speed it up or slow it down. And if you click more, then you even have fun little things like applause, or I need a coffee break. Your students should be drinking coffee. If you click on your picture, your own picture, the 3 dots by your own picture. Oh no, that's not it. Where's the ones where they get the cute little, reactions? So I'll stop sharing. So if you look at the bottom of your Zoom now, there's also a little on the far right is a little smiley face emoji with reactions. And when that comes up, you also have the opportunity to either do a little applause or a thumbs up. Okay. All right, so those are all fun little reactions that you could easily use to have them signal to you if they're getting something, or if they like something, or if they need you to slow down, or if they're ready for a break or have a question. And Microsoft Teams, those of you that were using that, same thing. There's the raise your hand feature right there for Microsoft Teams. Any questions about these tools before we go on? All right, let's try the little, I see Erin has her little thumbs up on there. How about do the applause one, the fun little applause one, if you thought the dog learning the computer was a funny cartoon. How about that one? Richard said it was funny before he even knew what I was asking for. Okay, good job. All right. So the third types of tools that we have in Zoom would be the annotating and whiteboards. Now, this is the one thing you can't annotate if you're on a Chromebook, but I do have a workaround for you. So I have, right now I'm not sharing any screen. I'll share a screen real quick. But when you share when you go to share something, most of the web conference platforms will say, what do you want to share? And then they say, do you want to share like your monitor, just a window, a file? You know, it's asking you what content you want to share for everybody to see. And one of those options is usually a whiteboard. So Zoom has whiteboards, WebEx and WebEx Teams have whiteboards. Google Meet has something that is called a Jamboard. So it's, I found a video that somebody's, you know, there's a whiteboard extension that you can add to Chrome, but it's a waste of time because all it is, it's like they can share a white screen, but it's not interactive. The students can't all collaborate. And so to me, that wasn't very useful. So if you're in Google Meet, if you're working with Google tools and Google apps, check out this thing called Jamboard. I learned about it, you know, at a little teacher workshop this summer, and it's interactive and the students can collaborate and it could serve that same purpose. And then Microsoft Teams also have a whiteboard. When you get these slides at the end of the presentation, if you come back and open these ones up, these are hyperlinks to videos of teachers showing how to use these for their classroom. So you can watch a YouTube video of somebody doing that, since we're only practicing Zoom in here. But I'm going to do a new share so you can see. Actually, before I share a whiteboard, let's just practice annotating. So right now you're viewing my screen, and if at the top of your screen, Haley, will you describe to them where they will see it in participant view?
Absolutely. At the top of your screen in green, with a green background and black font, you should see you are viewing Debbie Henney's screen. Next to that should be a view options button with a drop down arrow. If you then click view options, you should be able to select annotate.
Okay, so that will give you an annotate toolbar. And once that comes on, start drawing. Go decorate this boring slide. I made it boring because I wanted you to illustrate it. So look at that. Okay, who is still looking for the annotate toolbar? Just raise your hand or unmute your microphone. Okay, Jennifer's looking for it. Are you on a Chromebook, Jennifer? Okay, go up to the very top where you're viewing, where it says you're viewing Debbie Henney's screen. Click view options and turn on annotate. Choose annotate. Anybody else still looking for it? Okay, look at that. There's stamps. You can do straight lines. See somebody with their graph. You can do squiggly lines. You can sign it. Now watch what happens. If I go to the next slide, all your drawings are still there. And that's because this has nothing to do with my slides. This is just a Zoom tool and you're just annotating on the screen. Now I want you to try something else. You can undo your drawings, but you can't undo everybody's. But me, the presenter, I could actually undo everybody's drawings. I can delete them all, but I'm not going to do that yet because first I want you to practice saving a whiteboard or saving whatever's been annotated. So if you have the annotate toolbar open and you move over to the far right where the X is, where you would close it, right next to that it says save. Does everybody see that? Click it, and then a little green box is going to pop up that says show in folder. And if you click that right away, that folder pops up and you know exactly where that image is that you just saved. It basically just captured a screenshot of that. And now you could open that file later, and if you were working with a team, you can share that. And we're going to have you practice doing that in a little bit, okay? So All right, so that's how you annotate. So now I'm going, as a teacher, as the person running the meeting, I also have the ability to turn annotating off. So I could stop students from doing this. But do you see how this could be useful, just like you have a whiteboard, or like I started teaching with actual chalk and a blackboard. And you could actually have a student say, okay, show me, you know, how would you shift that curve? Or what do you think this would look like? You know, draw it for everybody. And they can participate just like they would in the classroom, right? All right, so now to share, I'm going to tell you how to share a whiteboard, and then we're going to practice. So I am sharing right now, but do you guys see at the bottom of your screen, I'm going to stop sharing. Do you see the option to share at the bottom? You guys see that? Click it. Don't choose anything yet, but click it and a big white box is going to appear in the middle. And the things that you see to share now, the choices, on the top, it's always going to list the monitors that you have. If you have different monitors, and then if you only have one, there'll just be one monitor, one screen. And the far right option at the top will always be whiteboard. You guys see that? Underneath that, you might see other devices, like maybe an iPhone or iPad will usually say. Below that, you'll see a row of different Chrome or windows you have open, things you could share. And if you scroll down a little bit more, if your computer is as busy and messy as mine, you might even have a bunch of files and things open that'll say, what, do you want to share any of these things? This is where you pick the different things that you would want to share. The benefit of sharing a window in your like Chrome or whatever your browser is, as opposed to your entire monitor, is that way they only see what's in the window. And I'll show you the difference. So if I show you my screen 2 right now, you see how you can see everything. You probably see, can they see the chat, Haley? Or do you just see some boxes?
You just see boxes.
Okay, well now I think, now somebody else is sharing, which is fine. But you can see everything on the screen, where if I had just picked a window, you would have only been able to, you can only see like my slides, for example. So, so now go back to that. If you don't have it open, go back there to share. And at the top right, I want you to see whiteboard, and whoever clicks it first, click share. There we go. Craig is that quick. So now Craig is sharing his whiteboard. And even though this is Craig's whiteboard, I want everybody to turn on annotate under view options and start drawing on Craig's whiteboard. You can text on it. Can we eat? Yes, you can eat whatever you want. Graphs. All right. Now this is Craig's whiteboard, but any of us can save it. So once again, practice saving it and click show in folder right away so you don't have any trouble finding it. Okay, you guys got that? Now I can clear my drawings, but Craig, can you clear everybody's drawings? So if you click on the trash can button, okay, because Craig is the presenter, it's his whiteboard, he has the power to do that, all right? All right, go ahead and stop sharing, Craig. I'm gonna go to here. All right. So we'll practice those in just a minute, but first I want to tell you about what we're going to use to practice those, and we're going to use breakout rooms. I do not know. Go ahead.
So when we saved the whiteboard, it went to just your picture in the corner, and then until you went back to presenting again, it wasn't full screen. We could only see a small picture of you, or at least that's my experience.
Say that one more time, Jill. When you saved the whiteboard.
So when I saved the whiteboard, it showed me the folder where it was, and then the only thing I could see in the Zoom was your screen in a tiny picture in the corner, and I didn't know how to get back to the presentation. And this has happened to me before. So until you turned the presentation back on and made a change yourself, I couldn't get back to it.
Okay, so Jill, are you on a Mac or a PC?
A Mac.
Okay, so maybe if somebody with a Mac can help me describe this a little bit better. I know how to describe it in PC language, but when that happens with a PC, I always tell everybody to like scroll down to the very bottom of your screen where you can see the different, like the little Zoom icon, and when you hover over it, it shows you the different Zoom windows that you have available, and you can click on one of those to kind of restore it. Okay. Where do you do that in a Mac? How do you do that in a Mac so that you can see all the programs that are open? Travis, do you use a Mac? No, he's a PC guy. Anybody else Mac users in here that are familiar with what Jill is talking about?
I think I know what you're saying, so I'll just try it next time it happens to me.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Stop me again, Jill, so we can troubleshoot if when that
Okay.
happens again. All right, so this is what the breakout rooms, Zoom takes the cake when it comes to breakout rooms. They have mastered it and they're very easy to use. And so all of you that are using Zoom just feel super grateful. Those of you that aren't, know that every other web conferencing platform is working right now to make breakout rooms available, because what they're finding out is those are really useful, especially for teachers. I don't know how we can do what we do like we do it in the classroom without breakout rooms. It's the ability for you to like send the students away to collaborate and work with a group or a team on something. Things as simple as turn to your neighbor and talk about this. How do you do that like this? You can't, but you can say, okay, turn to your neighbor and you just send them away in teams of 2. You can do it just like that with Zoom breakout rooms. So when you're the presenter and you click down to the bottom, of your Zoom options where you can see, like chat and share screen and reactions, one of those options will be breakout rooms. So that's where you find it. And you open breakout rooms and it just asks you, how many do you want to create? Do you want 4? Do you want 2? Or you can say, I want 2 people in a room, or 3 people in a room, or 4 people in a room, and it will automatically populate. But you can also manually create them and say, I want all of the A's together, or all the B's, and you can drag them to the rooms that you want. And then when you open the rooms, everybody gets an invite. You're going to get an invite in a little bit. I'm going to ask Haley, will you set up breakout rooms right now for like 4 people in a room?
Debbie, before we go to that, could you show us what it looks like on your screen when you click on the breakout room?
Yeah, let me see if I can share.
Thank you.
If you can, sometimes Zoom settings are set up. So let me see if I can do this. So that what you see, that's what I was worried about. Let me change my view real quick.
Debbie, can you make me host so I can take care of that?
Okay. Let's see. Okay, let me make Haley host more. Oh, but then they won't see the breakout room button if I share it, right, Haley?
Right.
All right, let me do one more thing. Let me exit full screen and now share my screen. Okay, so when I go to share screen, it disappears. Zoom doesn't show you, like when I show something in the Zoom chat or the Zoom things are up, it hides those from you. But basically, are you seeing my screen with all of you guys right now? So I will point with my mouse. You're not seeing, I'm sharing my screen and you guys don't see you? Oh,
correct.
Darn.
It won't show you any of the Zoom aspects of Zoom while you share a screen.
Yeah, so basically it just know it's at the bottom and it just says breakout rooms. And so it's easy, like when you pop it up. But I do know I've seen people make little YouTube videos where they capture the screen while they're doing it so that it all can be seen and they can walk you through it. But it actually it's so intuitive that it's nothing that we've had to really help people with this summer. They just kind of figured, it was one of the easier things that people figured out. So, okay, let me come back to before I send you away, and I want to point out a couple other things.
Debbie,
so,
I had a question about the annotations real quick.
Okay, go ahead, Jacob.
Is it possible to tell which kid did which annotation? Is that possible?
Yes. So you, the host, can see who annotates what.
Okay.
And it's just in the settings, or I think when I have my annotate toolbar, I have the option to show show the names of the annotators is what I'm looking at right now. So I can see that if I hover over something, or I always figure out, even if you can't figure out how to do that, I always tell the students, that I know, right? Because even the threat, that they don't have anonymity and that what they're the one writing it is a deterrent. So, all right. So WebEx, what I do know about WebEx is there are a couple workarounds, but WebEx has announced that they will have breakout rooms by September. I don't know if that means beginning or end. I know they're working because they are jealous that don't have them like Zoom. So there are a couple options. One is that you can set up as a WebEx training instead of a meeting. So if you use WebEx and this looks familiar, like where you kind of go to take care of your personal meeting room, on the left-hand menu at the bottom where it says like WebEx support, WebEx events, hold on one second. I'm gonna shut my door. Let's tell people I was busy today. Okay, so there's a little thing called WebEx training. To me, that is so not intuitive because it looks like I would go there to learn training about WebEx, but what it really is, it's a different type of meeting you set up. Instead of like an event or a meeting, you would set up a training. And when you compare the types of meetings that WebEx has, like side by side, they themselves say the training is the one that's best for distance learning because it has breakout rooms, it's highly interactive. I don't know why they're not communicating. Actually, I think I do know why, because when you get in, the platform does look a little bit older, dated, like maybe they stopped updating or supporting it. And maybe they knew they were working on adding breakout rooms to meetings. So maybe that's why they don't tell people about it, but it is there and students can go into breakout rooms. The one drawback is this: in the breakout rooms, the students don't see each other's faces. They don't have video. They have audio and they have a shared whiteboards. They can share their screens with each other, slides, whatever. They just don't get to see each other's faces. If you use WebEx Teams, you can use spaces as breakout rooms. In Google Meet, there's ways to create breakout rooms by basically kind of setting up a shared Google Doc that has links to different Google meeting rooms. And you would say, okay, the red team, the blue team, the green team, and you would send them to those and they would click in those different meetings. Then you could pop into those as well. The drawback is, how do you communicate to them that it's time to come back? You know, you could just tell them what time. That's where these Pear Deck really comes in handy, because even when you go into a breakout room, notice when I've stopped sharing my screen, you still have my slides on your mobile device. And so you can use that to kind of say, time to come back, or here's your instructions. When you're in the breakout room, you could advance through those different slides. And Microsoft Teams, again, I've included a couple links here of teachers who made videos that show you how to do it. But if you're using Microsoft Teams, you basically would set up channels to be the breakout rooms, and then you would create new Teams meetings and put those links in each channel. And so the students would use those for breakout rooms. So I'm going to give you an example of how we use breakout rooms to run an activity that some of you may have done. It's one of my favorite FTE activities called Cartels and Competition, where we break the students into 6 different groups in a normal classroom. They're all in their different parts of the room, and they're having to decide how much they want to produce. And they're the only suppliers, and so they know, oh, if we all flood the market, the price is going to be really low, and if we produce less, it'll be higher. And so they're strategically thinking about how much they should produce and trying to guess what they think the other people will produce. So then we send them away to their rooms, and then they have the opportunity to send somebody to a trade convention, and we send those kids out of the room. Well, we were able to conduct it with breakout rooms by doing the same thing, sending them into their 6 breakout rooms. And when it was time for somebody to attend the trade convention, that person just left the breakout room and went to the main room. And in that room, they all, did what people do at trade conventions. They colluded and tried to fix the, restrict output so the price would be high. It worked just like it does in the real classroom. And the debrief, the setup of, it did help having Haley setting the breakout rooms up kind of for me ahead of time, but that is something that if you're on top of it, you can have them set up before the kids come in. It doesn't take a lot of time. So after this, the folder of shared resources you get after this program actually has a link to that lesson in its original format, a video of what it looks like in the classroom, and then another document that is the virtual modifications that say step by step, here's how you run it with breakout rooms in a virtual environment. Another way that we did it was with we called it the Economics Market Showdown. And for that, same thing, the students went into groups, and then in those groups, they were competing and solving problems and collaborating on whiteboards to show their answers, and then we would pull them back and they would all display their answers, and they would either get a point or not get a point. And we have a whole entire lesson that was just students going back and forth, working with their, timed, okay, we gotta go, we gotta collaborate, we gotta come up with the right graph, and then we'd bring them all back and they'd show it, and we would see, who wins points or not. So you're going to be sent to a breakout room right now with 4 people. Oh, I forgot to make you host, Haley. I'm sorry. I'm going to make you host right now.
Thank you.
Okay, and you're going to be sent with 4 people. And when you get there, one person is going to screen share a whiteboard, just like I just showed you. Okay, so you're going to do share screen, click share screen, that option will come up, and you're going to choose whiteboard. It's always the option at the top right. And then everybody is going to use their annotate tool to decorate the whiteboard. Oh, I missed step 1. Your task is to come up with something that you all have in common. And then, you know, maybe write that on the whiteboard, decorate it, everybody sign it. If you're on a Chromebook, you can, you know, still contribute, tell them, you know, they can sign that for you. Here's what I would tell you if you have students, if you are using Zoom and students are connecting with a Chromebook, they still can share their screen. Like they could share a blank slide. They could share, you know, just any old web page. They could still share anything and other people can collaborate on that. So if you're using a Chromebook and you want to have the chance to share and kind of participate in these breakout rooms, I would just go to a PowerPoint, you know, open it up, you know, put a blank slide up there, or go to your Google Slides and open up a Google slide presentation, a blank one, and get ready to share that. So when it's your turn, you could share that. And then other people could collaborate and draw on that with the Annotate tool. You can draw on it with your own drawing tools in Google Slides or PowerPoint. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. You're gonna go away, and then if you need help in the breakout room, there's a little ask for help option. Just ask for help, and Haley or I will pop in like a fairy godmother, and we will help you, okay? Send them away, Haley. You should see a little notice to join the breakout room. Anybody who has trouble or doesn't see that, let me know. Oh, I forgot to ask if Wendy had 2 devices. Wendy, I think, has 2 devices. Can you send her to the both rooms?
The problem is we have 3 Wendy's.
Oh, you're right. I'll go find out which one she's in. And I think it's the same for Richard. So if somebody needs help, you can pop in or you can come find me and let me know.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so I have to go to my breakout. I forgot, can you co-host me back?
Yes. Oh, hold on. It says you are, but.
Oh, let me try. Sometimes that happens. Let me try one more time.
Hold on. That should do it. Try that.
Hey, welcome back. Adam, is that a virtual background?
No, that's just how organized I am. It's a true story I made up. So, Abby, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you since Hillsdale.
Oh, that's been a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I was telling.
We had a professor that had a virtual background like that had, look, it was bookshelves. And then another time he got online and the books were just really, really big. Like I don't know, his position with the camera. And that's when I realized, I don't think that's real.
Yeah, I was sharing with Ray and Amy, I believe. I said, it's a poor man's library, virtual reality. My library is downstairs next to my furnace. So that's IKEA. So.
All right. Oh, good. I love seeing all of you guys back, and most of your cameras are on. Those of you that aren't, hopefully you're turning them on at least when you get to the breakout rooms. So raise your hand. Let me see, show of hands. You can either do it like this with your real hand in front of the camera, or you can put it up in the participants window, your little blue hand. Tell me if your group was able to share and annotate a whiteboard and save it. Okay, put your hands up.
Oh, damn, I forgot to save it.
Stars. Okay. Put a thumb down if your group did not get it saved, or maybe you didn't even get it shared. Okay, Aaron, was it just not time to save, or you didn't share?
We shared and annotated, but at least I forgot to save. The other
I did
people
too,
may have
yeah.
saved.
All right. So everybody that did
forgot
save
to
it,
save
what I
it.
want you to do, find that folder where you saved it. Now, if you popped it, if you opened the folder right away, it's going to be easy to find. If you didn't, you're going to go to Finder or My Documents. If you're on a PC, go to My Documents. In Finder, I think it's also called Documents. And then there's going to be a Zoom folder. Zoom makes its own folder. And then in there, I think it organizes it by date, you know, and the most recent picture, you should see your picture there that you saved. Open it up so it's open on your computer. And now I want you to go to share screen. So go to Zoom at the bottom where it says share screen so everybody can see this. And look at the options. It's probably like the third on the, maybe that you might have scrolled down to like the fourth row of options. And do you see an option that is the picture that you saved? Good, and I was gonna say whoever gets to it first. So Raymond is sharing his picture and they all like pizza, okay? Good. For those of you who aren't sharing your screen, go ahead and stop sharing Raymond and somebody else share theirs. And for those of you that didn't get it, go ahead, Tanya. Did you have a question, Tanya, or no? Oh, just unmuted. Okay, those of you who didn't share, who's this one? Good, we're seeing Jill's now, nice. Those of you who didn't get the chance to save, go ahead and enter what you had in common on your Pear Deck on your mobile device. So I see Eric said they all live east of the Mississippi River. Good. What else? Craig said they all have children. Good. We're seeing Travis's screen. Very creative. Okay, go ahead and stop sharing, Travis.
Becky,
Somebody
that's
else
a great example of paint instead of a whiteboard.
That is true. That was, oh, they use paint. You're right. Somebody else who hasn't shared, go ahead and share. Wendy says they are all distance learning in the spring. And who else hasn't shared that would like to try sharing with everybody? Let's do one more. Unmute your microphone if you're working on it so we know to wait for you. Who's it gonna be? Okay, I'm gonna pick somebody. Let's pick who hasn't I seen yet? Melissa, have you shared your screen yet?
We didn't save ours.
Oh, Melissa didn't save hers. Okay, how about Lynn? Have you saved yours yet? Oh, you just muted, Lynn. Let me unmute you.
I saved it, but it's not showing up. My
As an option, did you open it? So did you find where it's saved in the folder so you can open it up, double click it?
It's not showing up, but then I'm also using my school computer, which is having issues.
Okay. Well, we can try it. We can try again with the next one. We're going to do one more of these. All right. Here's another sample problem. So I'm going to send you away, and this time you're actually going to have to solve an economics problem. And so in the breakout room, what would happen to the supply, demand, and price of toilet paper in the United States if Congress passed a law that set the maximum price at 50 cents a roll? Illustrate your answer with a graph. You're going to save the whiteboard, and then you're going to share that whiteboard. So I always tell the students, everybody save it, because then chances are one of the four will be able to find it and show it to everybody, okay? So notice in each of these, it might look like there's 48 rolls here from the package. This is only 12 rolls, right? And this one is like 36 rolls. And this one is 12. What does that mean, 6 to 12 rolls? Anyways, it's less. What you're seeing is with these price tags, the toilet paper currently is over $1 a roll, okay? All right, send them away. Let's shuffle them this time. Haley, can you recreate the breakout room so they get to work with different people? And when you get there, somebody who hasn't shared yet, I want you to share your screen, your whiteboard, so everybody can annotate. If you have a Chromebook, you can raise your hand and say, I will share my Google slide or my, yeah, it would be Google slide if you're on a Chromebook. And then everybody will annotate on that, okay? Okay, go ahead, Haley, send them away. Oh, who's sharing right now? Okay, Marv, stop. Go to your breakout room. Okay, Richard, shoot, I think Richard, we do have two different Richards.
We have two Richards, yeah. It's just that one device.
Okay. So Richard, can you hear me? Do you want some help connecting or getting into the breakout room? Just unmute yourself if you do. Okay, here they come. Okay, welcome back. We want to see some graphs when you get back. So if you have that folder open, if you saved it, open it up in the folder, click it and open up in Paint or whatever it comes up in. And I'm going to ask if you remember the breakout room number that you were in, okay? Do we have anybody from breakout rooms? Were there 7 rooms, Haley? Anybody from breakout room 7 that saved it and could share it? Share your graph? Somebody that hasn't shared yet. Anyone? There we go. Wendy, good. Oh, and I can tell there were multiple contributors on this one. Looks good. Okay, give them a hand, everybody. Use your little reactions to applaud for group 7. Okay. All right. And now let's see group 6. Somebody from group 6 share your graph. Somebody that hasn't shared yet, so you can get the practice sharing your screen. Oh, I see a chat. So Sharon is asking, how do I find the whiteboard stage? Okay, so Sharon, are you on a Mac or a PC? Oh, PC. Okay, so on a PC, you're going to go to My Documents and then go to Zoom. All right, here we have Adam's group, and Adam was with group 6. Is that right?
Good.
Nice. Okay, applause. Give them a reaction. In My Documents, Sharon, you're going to go to the Zoom folder. All right. How about somebody?
I found mine was listed in my offline data folder. It wasn't in my files.
Oh, let's chalk that up to school computers for sure. Yeah. Okay. So Lynn, that one that's opened, can you share it? Even if it's from the one from last group.
Let's try it. Come on.
There you go.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, looks good. You found it. Okay, nice job. How about anybody from group? Let's pick one more group. Somebody from group 2. Who can share from group 2 that hasn't shared yet? Who's in group 2, Haley? Or somebody let me know.
Group 2 is Catherine, Melissa, Richard, and Travis.
Okay, do we have any of you guys that can share?
I have I opened it up as a screenshot, but it won't. Okay. It doesn't seem to want to share it.
Oh, so when you go to share, you can't find the screenshot?
Right.
Go to share screen, and now scroll down to the very of the options that you have to share. Sometimes there's a 4th row, and it's down there as an option. Luck there?
No, it just says whiteboard, iPhone, Finder, preview, Chrome.
Okay, go underneath the finders and the previews. Is there another row of things if you scroll down? Okay. No. But then why don't you pick whiteboard and show us a blank whiteboard? There's Melissa's. Good job, Melissa. Is Melissa on your team or is she a different team? All right, Richard. Okay, Richard, I want you to share a blank whiteboard just so you have that practice. So go to share screen and you get to share a blank.
Okay.
And share a blank whiteboard. There's a little blue button after you've selected it at the bottom right.
It's going through all sorts of crazy stuff.
Oh, you know what? You're on a Mac, I can tell, because you said Finder. So one thing that Macs will do is they actually ask you to, you have to allow, what's it called, the permissions or something. You have to go to System Preferences. A Mac, if you're a Mac user, chime in and help me fix it. But there's something you have to do where you have to allow Zoom to like share that kind of stuff. Once you've done it once, it will allow it. If you're not the administrator, if it's a school computer, you have to actually get them to, I guess, help you do that. But once you've allowed that, then it will work after that. So
Yeah,
that's probably what you're seeing, Richard.
it's a school computer, I think.
Okay. So I think that if you do have the rights, they may give you the rights to do that. I think it's under system preferences is where
Supposedly they're going to upgrade before we get back to school because we complained about a lot of stuff that we can't do. So.
Okay, I know. The things that they think we need, what I found my school is they're not even asking the right questions. They sent around a list asking what kind of hardware we need. Oh, can you mute that one microphone, Haley? There we go. So they sent around a list and it was all these, like, do you need an iPad? Do you need this? Nowhere on the list was monitors. I need monitors. If you want me to teach from home on my little school laptop, give me another monitor, so that I can, this is my desk now. And so I need more real estate to work with. But they don't know unless you tell them. So here's a sample of, what your graph should have looked like. And when I popped into most of the rooms, it looked like you were in fact sharing and creating price ceilings. And so let's just review real quick the different tools we've practiced so far. So we using things like the camera and the chat and reactions and raise your hand. These are all things that are there. And once you get used to using them, it'll become kind of second nature. It'll be like habit, especially if you always set it up the same way. So you know where the chat is and you know where your list of students are and you can watch for their little hand signals. And then the whiteboards in the breakout rooms, you have to practice with students. So just like we did here, don't expect that first lesson where you want to use whiteboards, they're going to be able to do that. You actually have to let them do what we just did here. We're just going to practice doing whiteboards and annotating and sharing our screen and finding the thing that we shared. That could eat up an entire class period, and don't feel bad about it. This is where we can take a note from the elementary teachers, and if any of you are elementary teachers in here, hats off to you, because they spend the entire first week of school just teaching the students the procedures and the rules of the game and the systems and how everything works. This is a completely new environment, and so we have to train the students and give them time. So let's do what we just did. Let's practice breakout rooms. Let's practice screen sharing. Let's practice turning on and off our cameras. Let's practice muting and unmuting, and let them get used to the tools too. Then you can become more comfortable with it, and so will they. If you don't have, if you have access to an extra monitor, if the school can get, or you can get one from school, use it. If they don't have resources like that to help you, acquire one. Maybe you can go to Goodwill, repurpose a TV at your house, then you can have lots of real estate. But that extra monitor gives you the power to have your presentation in one place. The students, all of them, even while you're presenting, could be right in front of you. Usually I can get 25 in one view. And so then with just one click, I can see the rest of them, it's easy to toggle back and forth. But inevitably, there's even more stuff I want to see. I may have my presentation, I've got my class. I might want to jump over and check my Google Classroom or my learning management system. Is that going to be easy to find? And so if you can't have extra monitors, find a way to leverage your device, like your phone. I know everybody has a phone, or you might have an iPad. You can actually use those to kind of help give yourself more screen space. So for example, this Pear Deck presentation that I'm running, I actually have the ability to launch it, a teacher dashboard, on my phone, and then I can run the teacher dashboard. I'll actually show you what that looks like.
And Debbie, Wendy has her hand raised for a question.
Okay, go ahead, Wendy. Now is a perfect time.
Yeah, and actually, Haley, maybe you can help me with this. So I used Zoom this spring, and I knew that I go into Zoom and I set up that I want breakout rooms, and there were, and I learned how to load my students in and make breakout rooms that I wanted to have certain kids in. But then what I found was that when I started class and I was going to use those breakout rooms, it seemed like that not very many of the kids were actually in them, because I think it's because of how they were coming into Zoom. Yes. That they weren't coming in with an account, or they were coming in as a guest or something. Is that true?
Yeah. When you invite them, and when you set up the meeting and invite people, whatever email you're using, right, is how you're going to be able to put them in breakout rooms. But if they connect on a different device or with a different email or anonymous or their mom's computer, they're going to be somebody else in there. And so that actually is something to think about. And we talked about that, and then we just decided it's easier just to set them up on the fly. And it may take a couple minutes to get the students like in the preset groups that you want. And so just plan for that. Just say, okay, we're going to take, a couple minutes. They'll just expect that there might have to be some downtime. What I wish all of you could have is a Haley. And what I'm actually the most nervous about going back, because I am going to be teaching 3 of my classes in the fall live online like this. And the thing I'm most nervous about is because I'm flying solo and I don't have a Haley. And if that's one thing you do have the ability to ask for, let them know that it sure would help to have 2 teachers in a room or an aide in there with you. Or if you have resource teachers that help certain students that are going to be in there with you, bring them in and let them be a part of it. Because having Haley be able to like watch for questions when I'm not, checking, having her be able to answer when we go into breakout rooms, having 2 people that can jump in and help kids. I don't think that's something that our administrators will even think of, but it made this summer a huge success because we always had a backup in there, somebody else that could assist and help. So this is the teacher dashboard that I can actually run on my phone or another screen, but I could actually run the presentation from here. And so I don't have to use a screen to do this. I could be watching on my phone. I would know what slide I'm on. I could actually go back to a slide where you guys submitted some answers. Like if I wanted to go back and look at your graphs from here, I can control this all from the teacher dashboard, and I don't have to give up my monitor real estate to do that, right? And I can show and hide the responses from here. And so if you notice on your phones, you're seeing the responses and you're seeing the slides that I'm showing. And I can even see the slides that I'm on, and I could do all of this on my iPad. So I watched different professors teaching with this summer, and there was one who he would have the Zoom meeting here, and he was running his presentation from his iPad. And he would look here and he would see he would call students out. Notice on here, you can see what I see. I can see your names because I required you to log in. You can make it anonymous, but they're your students, so I would require it. And he could call in students, or he could spotlight ones that gave really good answers or something. But notice on your device, you don't see student names. You see that? Okay, so that's my advice as far as, kind of managing your classroom. If you can get some tech assistance by helping them give you more monitors, and if you can get some people assistance, if they're wondering, geez, what do we do with our aides on staff? I'll tell you what you can do. They can actually be a huge help in my classroom. All right, let me go back to stop share here and share something else. We'll come back to our slides. Okay, I also watched other professors and kind of techniques. They all did it a little bit differently, but they found ways that worked for them. So one of the professors, I will say, was an absolute, self-proclaimed Luddite in that he did not have a cell phone. And when Ted Tucker, he's our executive director, and when he told me that this professor, was teaching and this professor didn't have a cell phone, I thought, oh my gosh, we're gonna fail. But Haley and Becky and I, we worked with this professor. I met with him ahead of time. We had these little 45-minute Zoom trainings like this that we would set up every morning for like 2 weeks. And every morning I thought, oh my gosh, we're starting all over. We would do the same things. We would practice how to share a screen, how to, switch from this view to this view, this monitor to here, how to launch his slides, in Pear Deck, so he could do this. And even though I felt like we were starting over every day, because he was practicing, he was getting it. And then by the time he started, he ended up being like, he knocked it out of the park. His session started on time, ended on time. He covered everything he wanted. He was interacting with students. He was, engaging and funny. I was blown away. And I thought, if he can do it, we can do it. One more example I'll give you of another professor. He was really good. He got really good with this kind of stop share, or he would pause his share. So like if I pause my share, do you guys see, did it go back to people? Do you see people again or no? Okay, so he must have been, he must have been doing, he must have just said stop share. So when he wanted to ask a question to all the students, he wouldn't even talk, he wouldn't even say, let me stop share like I do. He would just take it down, and then he would look at the students, and he would just call somebody out and say, Donald, what do you think about that? You know, and they would have a little back and forth, and then just as quickly, you know, he would get back to his presentation. I knew that came with practice, you know, like he was just, and that was a style. He only had one computer. And so when he was presenting, he saw mostly his slides. And when he wanted to talk to the kids, he would take it down so he could see the kids. And so my advice there is, you know, practice, and it will become more comfortable. So we've practiced screen sharing. The only thing we haven't practiced yet, or that I want to highlight, is something called Spotlight Video. And I did that to somebody in the beginning. I don't remember who it was, but I'll use, oh yeah, it was Jeff. He was like, you spotlighted me. So I'm going to stop sharing for a minute so you can see what it's like. If I was asking questions or teaching, I could say, you know, Eric, I want you to, you know, tell me about that. And I can spotlight Eric, and you see what happened on your screen. When I spotlighted Eric, what happened for you guys?
Eric got very big on my screen.
Yeah, it's like I just called on Eric, and now all eyes turn to Eric. Just like in a classroom, when you do that, all eyes are on Eric, and now Eric can answer. Now, Eric, do you see how you can cancel your spotlight?
Yes.
Go ahead and cancel it. So he does have the ability to say, quit looking at me, everybody. Like, I do not want to be seen right now, right? So that's how Spotlight Video works. And it's a way that you can just, you know, quickly call on somebody or give the attention or the floor to them. Now, the students also have the ability to pin videos. It doesn't make it big for everybody, but it makes it big for you guys. You guys notice how I was looking over here for a minute? It's a good point to bring this up. When you do have extra monitors, you kind of have to be aware of where you're talking. When I spotlighted Eric and it made him big, I dragged my class view over to another monitor, and then I forgot about it. So I was talking to you guys over here. And so that would be the other thing I would recommend, is that you practice and record yourself so you can see, like, where am I looking? What are the students going to see? All right, anybody else want to be spotlighted?
Wendy's got a question, Debbie.
Okay, go ahead, Wendy.
So where is this command for Spotlight Video?
So when you're the host and you click on like a person's picture, the dots by their name, one of the options is to spotlight their video. So you'll see that then. And I'm sorry,
okay,
you can't see that now. All right. I'm going to give you another sample, because what I want you to start thinking about now is, what activities do you do in the classroom that you really like doing and you're going to miss this year? And now I want you to actually think about, with the tools that we've seen, is there a way that you could actually still run that classroom, that activity with your students? And so here's an example. This is one that I like to do when I'm teaching about production possibility curves. And I put the students into teams of 4, and together that little company has to produce texts and push-ups. And they do 4 different rounds, one where they're doing all push-ups, another where they're doing all text, and then a couple combinations in between. Oh, let me share my screen. How about that? And you'll get a visual. Okay, so here's text and push-ups. Can you guys see that? Okay, so their job is, you know, they basically come up with the numbers, and they all have different jobs. Like, somebody has to be the recorder, somebody has to be the timer, somebody has to be the doer who's doing the push-ups for the group, and they're also sending the text. Somebody has to be the person receiving the texts, right? And so they all have a job. They could share a whiteboard. They could be drawing the graph. They could be keeping the record, the table on there. They're in a breakout room. They're, you know, they can see somebody else is counting the push-ups, and they could share this. I could even give them a template if I wanted to, give them a link to a Google Doc that they could open up as the template and share that, and write on that. They could do that. But there's no reason I couldn't do this activity just like I do it in the classroom, and it still works, right? There's no reason I can't do that. Any ideas that come to mind as you're thinking about this, about activities that you might be able to run virtually?
The international trade activity.
Okay, which one is that, Marv?
Where the products are in the bag.
Okay, So now that's a good one, because I actually haven't figured out a way to do that one yet online. So what are you thinking you could do to do the trade game online?
They could get something that's near in their home, and then you could put them into a group.
Okay.
They could trade within their group, and then you could make another group that's larger, combine two groups, and then your third round could be everyone that's participating.
Okay.
And they would have to, I'm not sure how you would put the values for each round. I think maybe a sheet of paper on the camera, and then someone would have to add up all the scores.
Or you could share a whiteboard. Marv is the host. You could share the whiteboard, and you could keep the, or even sharing a Google slide, so then it's kind of saved in there, and you could keep those tallies. The only drawback of that is that they can't actually pass the items through the screen, right? And so they probably would get the idea that, oh geez, if I did have that Coca-Cola you're holding instead of the, saltine crackers I'm holding, I would be happier, right? But it would be great if we virtually could pass those. And maybe one of you will come up with an idea of a way we could virtually transfer things so they actually could hold that other thing. But great idea, Marv. Anybody else have an idea of how a way that we might facilitate? Go ahead, Eric.
Maybe the ultimatum game, I was thinking.
Yeah, we could actually do that, right? Except you would do probably extra credit points.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk. That's what I was going to do, like extra credit points.
Yeah, and so how to make it anonymous? Like it would take some thinking about how do you get the proposals sent one to the other. We actually do have an FTE kind of solution to that one that we have worked with Mob Lab to do. And we have a workshop just like this that's going to happen in a couple weeks, all about using Mob Lab to run some of those games like Tragedy of the Commons and the Ultimatum game. So any others? All right. So let me give you some tips and then I'll tell you about that Mob Lab and a couple other opportunities you might be interested in. But when in doubt, Google it. What I found is that just because somebody is the WebEx person or expert, like at my campus, doesn't mean they know everything about WebEx. In fact, they don't. Like I know more. I go asking questions that they've never even thought to ask, and so I leave usually showing them like something they didn't know. So, and how did I figure those things out? Because if I've asked it, another teacher has asked it. And so I Google that question, and before I even finish the question, it populates because somebody else has asked it. And there's usually a smart teacher who has recorded and made a YouTube video and posted it on here's how you make breakout rooms with Google Meet, right? And that's how I share it. Here's how you do breakout rooms with this. So if you want to know how to do something, ask and see if somebody else has done it. Google it. How do I do this? It's pretty much how we learned everything this summer. We self-taught. Make use of multiple devices, TVs. If your TV has an HDMI input, there's adapters, you can connect them to your computer. And if you don't know how, there's YouTube videos for that. I require video. We told the students this summer in the EFL program, they logged in the mornings. We told them they had to have their video on. When a student didn't, I would just click on the little dots by their name. Like I'm going to pick on Tanya because I know she has video. But I would ask her, I would say, there's an option where I can ask to start her video as the host. I can't turn it on without her, but I would ask her to start her video. And then I would go to the chat and I'd say, Tanya, are you with us? To see if she was there. And if they weren't, and they didn't respond and they didn't turn it on, we knew they're not there and they're not going to get full participation points. So we required that. Now, sometimes students had things, like maybe somebody comes into the room and they, like my daughter today when I was checking on her and she's humiliated to be seen with her mom. So, like she would mute her video. Other teachers have brought up that maybe students are sensitive and they don't want to share their home environment. They don't want people to see their bedroom. That's okay. I have no problem with virtual backgrounds. If the kids want to put up a virtual background, I just said, don't be obnoxious and change it throughout the whole time that I'm teaching. So students are watching what's the next virtual background going to be instead of paying attention, to what was happening. And the truth is, we didn't have a lot of problems. The students didn't mind. They were engaged. They liked having their videos on. I saw a question. Mark, you had a question.
Yeah, a little bit off task. So I've had students they're turning off their camera, so I can't really see what they're doing. And I was wondering if any other teachers have any ideas for a solution to that.
Anybody want to chime in with a solution?
They can hear me and I can hear them, but I can't see them.
Well, you can make sure that there's other activities too, like the Pear Deck that Debbie's using, or like Nearpod or the chat. So similarly, you know how you have students who maybe sit in the back and they look like they're not paying attention, but they actually are. Like they're introverts. They're not loud people. I mean, that also might be the case. So if you give them opportunities, maybe they're not on the camera, but maybe they're typing or drawing or something like that.
I think they just, well, I think they just want to bow out of it without, you know, I mean, they want to be there, but they don't want to really participate.
Right.
Another teacher said that's really not something we can control.
But you know what we can control, Marv, and what econ teachers know? We understand incentives, right? So incentives matter, and that's one thing we do have control over. So how can you use incentives to encourage them to participate? I don't know if you're allowed to tie participations to grades, but I give a participation grade.
Extra credit points, maybe.
Extra credit, yeah. And you can only get it by showing that you're actively engaged and participating. And like Travis was saying, I actually can go back and see everybody that participated and when they did in those Pear Deck slides. But I like Travis's idea of requiring feedback in the chat. And if I don't see them there, and if they haven't responded, they're not in class, you know, in my book. So they don't get attendance or participation points. Wendy, what were your ideas on that?
I found is that when there are multiple kids in the family all online at the same time, bandwidth is terrible. So my kids can't, because we depend on, it's a sign language environment, so we have to. But sometimes like their siblings will all mute their video so that we can use the video.
Yeah.
Or the parents are also working, you know, as soon as the parents get a phone call, I can't talk to my kid. So that also can be an issue. So I like the alternative, you know, using chat, participating in other ways, just like kids in the classroom, as you know, sitting in the back quiet, like Travis was saying, like they may still like turn and talk to their neighbor, or they might do other things, but they're not going to raise their hand and answer a question.
Yeah. And this is great. Like these are the same things we learned in our classroom management classes when we were going to school, right? That how do we engage that student in the back of the room? How do we be sensitive to, you know, maybe it is a conversation a little bit later to find out, hey, can the rest of the family, like, can your brother not play games when you're trying to do your online work? Or I'll use Sarah as an example. I'll pick on Sarah. She was like, you know, I've been on Zoom all day and I just need a break from Zoom. You know, like maybe the kid had a bad day and they really just don't want the camera on. You can find a way to kind of be sensitive, but gauge whether or not, you know, give them ways to participate. I really like that.
One program that we have access to is PlayPosit, where you can have a video and you can stop the video and ask different types of questions, everything from multiple choice to fill in the blank, and then they have to answer it before the video restarts. So if you do have students who have regular issues watching your lectures, you know, this is Zoom presentations being recorded. You could, if you have something like PlayPosit, not only have them watch the video later, but actually have some accountability for people who didn't show up but do watch the video later.
Jill, can you put that in the chat for everybody? It sounds a little like something I've heard of called Edpuzzle that we used in one of the online programs. Does that sound okay? Yeah, what a great idea, because I know some of you also have to make
a lot of the platforms are coming out with the ability to do that.
Great. And if, for those of you that are going to be doing synchronous and asynchronous, and you have to make your recordings of your class live, that sounds like a great way to gauge their engagement. Also, I will say the Pear Decks can be set to run asynchronously so that students could still go through them and interact with them asynchronously, and it doesn't just have to be in a live class. So my next tip would be just to model any nonverbal communication and feedback. So you know, in the class, we have this barrier screen now between us, which makes that nonverbal communication even more important than ever. So I already talk with my hands, but I try to be, you know, big and make sure they can see my face, and the lighting is good, and you know, and model those big expressions, and because I want to be able to see from them, are they getting it? You know, nod, shake your head. Or I loved how Eric was like, you know, like, I have a question, you know, like he can't just go like this, like in a classroom, right? You have to be a little bit bigger than life to be, you know, and so Eric's like, over here, I got a question, right? And then record yourself. Practice, so record, practice, watch it, and then do it again, repeat, okay? So you can start a WebEx meeting with just yourself. You can start a Zoom meeting with just yourself. You can share your slides. You can run through the whole presentation. You can record the whole thing, and then you can watch it. And you can see what's not working. Is my face too dark? Can they not see, you know, because the room I'm not lit in, so they're not seeing my facial expressions? What can I do about that? Turn your desk lamp, you know? Extra monitors actually help light you when you're teaching. What other things I noticed? I noticed that when I would be talking, you know, that I was often looking too much over in the other direction. So I changed it so my class view, like when I'm talking, I see their faces, is always right in front of me. And then I try to be familiar enough with my slides that I just glance at them, but I don't have to see them all the time. Another teacher I know, she likes to have her slides right up above. And one of our professors did that. I got an extra monitor and it was right up above. He stacked it up on books, you know, and so here he was teaching here, and then he could just look up to his slides and it wasn't too distracting. But those are the things you'll notice when you watch yourself presenting after you've recorded it. Other things you might notice, like maybe it's just supply and demand and graphs or something, but I'm always like, you know, trying to do this or saying right and left. And then I'm watching it and going, well, that's all wrong. That looks backwards. You actually have the ability to mirror your camera. So it's either, you know, like real view or mirror view. And so practice and record, you know, both ways. Which one works out the best with what you think you're showing students, you know, in the direction you think you're shifting the curve. And then my last tip that I can't stress enough, you know, from the summer, and I think this is always our last tip with FTE, is keep it simple. You know, the activities and simulations the FTE has, there are already enough moving parts, right? And then when we debrief those, we always tell you, pick that one lesson you want to teach with it and focus on that and do it really well, instead of trying to teach every possible thing with the lesson. We've learned the same thing with teaching in this virtual environment. There are so many cool apps out there, you know, like Padlet and Nearpod and, you know, Pear Deck and Kahoot and Quizlet. And if you are trying to teach, your students already have this Zoom meeting going on, or WebEx, or they've got their classroom, they're trying to pay attention to your presentation. You may have sent them to Pear Deck, okay? That's enough. Pick one app, you know, that you might use, and one extra thing that you're going to use for that lesson. What is the one thing that will serve you best for that lesson, and use it? What I would not recommend doing is saying, okay, we just did Pear Deck. Now come over to this Kahoot. Now we're going to jump over and do this Padlet. Now we're going to do, it's crazy, it's too much. And to keep them all in the right place and make sure it's working, pick one thing and do it really well for that lesson. Use Kahoot tomorrow, you know, keep it simple. Don't overwhelm them. If it's overwhelming for you, you know, it can be overwhelming for them. Okay, on your last piece of feedback I want to get from you on your mobile device, if you're still connected, and if you're not, just go to joinpd.com and the code is IHZJB. And I want you to either draw or type 2 things that you learned in today's lesson, or it could be 2 questions you still have. And while you're working on those, I'm going to stop sharing. And is there anybody who didn't get a chance to practice screen sharing something that would like to do that right now? Or anybody that didn't get to practice annotating, couldn't find the annotate toolbar and wants to do that? Oh, somebody said Pear Deck isn't. Oh, okay. I see you are on Pear Deck, or you wouldn't be submitting it. Sometimes I notice the students will have to kind of refresh their screen a little bit for it to get disconnected for a while. Oh, good. I got somebody sharing their screen. Okay, Craig, did you have a question?
That's it. Yeah, I'm unmuted. Yeah, I was asking about Pear Deck because I haven't actually used that before. And so I was checking it out while we were here. Were we looking at the free version or did you have the paid version?
So the ones where you can draw, that is part of the paid, but I will tell you this, the free version has, they can't draw on the slides. That's one of the cool things that you can't do on the free version. And I think there's one other tool, but all the other types of interactive question slides you can make, they're all included in the free version.
Wait, I'm sorry, you're saying when you're drawing, so like the thing we're doing right now where it says draw or type 2 things, you're saying that's free or that's paid?
That is not free.
Okay.
So the ones that are included in free are any question where you want them to write something where they can type it in, any question where you want them to pick a multiple choice, any question where you want them to, what else is there, Haley? Like the poll, like true, false.
Move the dot.
Move the dot, yeah. But what I was gonna tell you about the free version is it lasts for, you can get the paid version, a free trial for 90 days. That's 3 months. And so I actually did that and that's all I've used this summer and it's about to expire. And to be honest, I'll just probably make another free Google account and use that one. Or maybe I'll pay for it because it's less than Netflix. So seriously, I'm kind of like, I get a lot of value out of it. So but actually what I'm going to do before that is I'm actually going to ask my school if they will purchase a license for me, because I'm happy to share it with other teachers, but all right. Oh, and I see, okay, so Marv is sharing on his board that he's annotating. I'm going to show you some of your answers that you're sharing. Okay, I'll move in to this view. Okay, we have how to use breakout rooms and Pear Deck. For those of you who, 2 monitors, also, what was this one? Work with all kids and sign language environment. I am hats off to teaching sign language virtually. So for those of you that are interested in Pear Deck, we are actually doing another workshop just about Pear Deck. So with that, I'll skip to the next slide. So at the top of this slide here, you'll see August 11th and 13th are both Pear Deck workshops. And Haley, has the announcement been sent yet? Or is it going out today?
It's going out tomorrow morning. They're all posted live on our website. So everything's able to accept registrations at this point.
So I know it's like, 1 week notice, but we just gave you guys a heads up. So if you're watching an email, if you're watching your email, you can get in first. And we're gonna do that on August 11th. These are all Pacific time, so add 3 hours for those of you on the East Coast, and August 13th. And it'll be just like this. It's gonna be 2 hours, but it's all about how to use Pear Deck. And one thing that I will say about breakout rooms is having Pear Deck, to me, is what makes the breakout rooms really work well, because they can still have my information and I can communicate with them and share that content when they're away in a breakout room. And so, so we will actually, in that workshop, help you get it all set up, add whatever power-ups to the Chrome browser so that it works, super well. Pear Deck works with Google Slides. It's just an add-on to Google Slides, but it's also an add-on for PowerPoint slides. So whether you use PowerPoint or Google Slides, you can, in the workshop, you'll learn how to get that all set up, and then you'll actually launch and create some interactive slides and share them with us, and we will join your presentation so you can see what it's like to be the teacher and do a presentation and have students interacting with you. And then we are doing another one later, about a week later, on MobLab. And that is, MobLab is a software company. It was designed for the college, the university classroom. They've been around for a while. FTE partnered with them several years ago. We actually tried some of their activities at one of our summer programs. And what they did is they took our games, like market games and the simulations we do in economics classrooms, ultimatum games and tragedy of the commons, and they built them in a platform where students can play on their phones. And so what we tried, we thought, let's bring them to a big EFL program and we'll let all the students. And so the students are playing the market games, but they're sitting at their desk like this, And so in the end, I was like, well, that was not very fun. It's way more fun when they're up and moving around the room and like shaking hands and high-fiving, and that was a different world, right? Now we're social distancing, and this is our next best alternative. And so we did those this summer. We used MobLab, and the students were competing real time. They were playing the ultimatum game with each other. They were doing market games. They were tragedy of the common. They were fishing. And so if you come to one of the MobLab workshops, we will do the same thing. We'll help you get all set up with a MobLab account. You'll practice launching and running games. We can join and play the games as students, so you can have that experience. In the college classroom, they actually, the university students pay for it themselves. It's like 25 bucks for them to pay for it. They give it automatically. There's a discount for high school, so it's like $12 a student. But what MobLab is doing for us right now is they're working on creating just some modules that are just designed to go with FTE activities. So I'll give you the FTE lessons, the slides that go with it, and they'll give you access to, like, you know, these X number of games that go with FTE activities. And they're willing to do that at some even more, you know, smaller of a price. I don't know if it's like a price that just a teacher could pay versus a subscription for your whole school or something, but we're working on those details right now, and we will know by August 13th. So, but if you're interested in that, come to the MobLab activities. Okay, so I know we're almost up against time here. At the bottom, you'll see a link, this short evaluation, or link to the evaluation. If you would like a certificate for the program, oh, you can't see.
If you click, it goes to the slide deck.
Yes.
Oh, is that the one at the very bottom or the one up above?
The evaluation.
Neither one connects to the evaluation.
The QR code goes to the slides.
So, oh, you're right. I'm sorry. The QR code is for the slides and the resources. Haley right now is going to put the link for the evaluation in the chat. And if you type this link, bit.ly, the FTE8520, if you type that into a browser, that will also, or if you're on your phone or you want to do it somewhere else, typing that in will get you to the evaluation, or you can just click on it from the chat right now. There is an option in there to request a certificate. So if you want a certificate for professional development from this program, do the survey and you can let them know you want that.
No, the bit.ly goes to the slide deck.
Yes.
Does it?
Yes.
Dang it. Okay, well, use the one in Haley's chat then. Can you guys see that one?
If you open the chat window, I've just added the survey for today's workshop in there. It should be a SurveyMonkey link.
Yep, got it.
Perfect. If you don't need it, you can always reach out to me via email. I'm happy to send it to you that way as well.
And I am sorry about that darn bit.ly. I thought I must have grabbed the wrong link. And while you guys are taking care of that, are there any other, this is time for any other questions that weren't addressed now that you guys want to ask about?
Debbie, sorry I'm not able to show video. I had to drive someplace, so I was safe.
Go ahead.
Are we, when you were talking about the market game, it was called In the Chips, are we able to conduct that, or is that through the MobLab or the Pear Deck that you were referencing?
That is MobLab. That was MobLab.
Oh, okay.
And
All
any
right,
market game that you can imagine, you can do on there. Price ceilings, price floors, tariffs, taxes, any market variation you can think of, you can do a MobLab, as well as like fishing and tragedy of the commons. And
gotcha. All right, thank you.
Yeah. Other questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
When you use multiple monitors, and so you have, okay, so are you like opening Zoom on like more than one computer, or are you kind of hooking them together somehow manually? I don't know what you're
So on your, when you have a laptop, is that what your school gives you? So there's usually like an HDMI input or some sort of input where you could connect a monitor, like an extra monitor, and your computer just knows, it's like it recognizes it as another screen. And so then when you go to present things, you can just drag it, like extend it onto that other screen. Like it just gives you more screen space. They're kind of connected. So I just start my one computer, everything's running on my one computer, but now that it's running, I can drag those windows to my other monitors.
Okay.
That makes sense? So I'll
Yeah.
launch, I always do my presentation on one. I have, stuff going on another, and then I've got my Zoom meeting right in front of me.
Okay, thanks.
Good question. Anybody else have a question? Okay, well, we will stick around for questions, but if you don't have questions or you don't want to, if you want to stick around and ask questions or practice something, stick around and do that. Otherwise, you're free to go. Thank you for doing the evaluation, and thank you for the helpful feedback so that we can make these even more helpful. When you go to that folder, either the QR code or that either link apparently, that will get you to all the resources. It includes the lesson. I even included some Pear Deck tips for those of you that might want to try it out, because the slides I shared in there are Pear Deck enabled. So, and I will stick around for tutoring help or questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have one question.
Go ahead, Lakita.
Okay, so, and thank you for